So continuing with our selection technique tutorial, we're going to move on to the magic wand and the quick selection tool. And both of these are pretty useful tools. The magic wand tool is the one that we're going to start with, and that is this one right here. It looks exactly as you would expect it to, magic wand tool. It does look a little similar to the quick selection tool. So be careful, make sure you're selecting the correct one. The magic wand tool looks like a magic wand out of Harry Potter. Quick selection tool, to me, it looks a little bit like a burning cigarette. I don't know why that is, but that's the way they made it. So we're going to go with the magic wand tool here. And it's got a... if people love it or hate it. I think it has a bad rap. I think it can be pretty useful in picking up large areas of pixels, and over the years it's been refined so that it's not the sort of brute force kind of tool that it used to be. So what it does basically is that you click anywhere and it samples from where you click, and it looks for pixels that have the same or similar information. And you can control the levels of that information up here at the top with your contextual menu here. So I'm just going to click in the blue area here, and you can see that's what it does. It selects the blue, and it does an okay job. What I'm going to do now is actually delete what I've selected so that you can kind of see how the magic wand tool does by itself here. So I'm just going to delete this, and then I'm going to deselect with Command D so that we can get rid of those dancing ants and zoom in. Take the hand tool, move up, and you can see it's not quite as clean as we would like. It's got some fuzzy edges here, and because it's literally deleted those pixels, right? And even though it's anti-alias, it still doesn't do necessarily the best job in the world. Okay, so the magic wand tool has a bit of a rap at not being the cleanest selection tool. And it's not. It's not the cleanest selection tool in the world, and you wouldn't want to use it for extremely refined selections. But if you're needing to get a hold of a large block of pixels with similar color information, it's a really useful tool. And you do have some control over refining a little bit of it. So what I'm going to do is actually go to my history palette here, and I'm going to go back to before I deleted all of this, and I'm just going to zoom out a little bit with Command minus. And now what I want to do is actually refine this edge, right? And we've seen this option here before with our other selection tools, so this shouldn't be anything new to you. I open that up, and I've already set this to something that's a little better than what we had it on, right? So it's feathered a little bit, it's smoothed out a little bit. It's not bad at all. Here it is without the preview. Okay, so I hit OK, and it smooths it out a little bit. And so now if I delete and go, let's get rid of the dancing ants with Command D. If I zoom in a little bit and let's move up here. You can see it's a little bit smoother. Now I could heighten the contrast on the refine edge and get rid of the real soft look that I have going here. But remember, what I was selecting was the blue area. I'm not selecting this here, right? So let's just zoom back out, and again I'm just going to go back to where I was, and I'm going to hit Command D to deselect. The magic wand tool has a few things that you should know about it. It's really pretty important. One is the tolerance, and the tolerance affects the levels of pixels that it picks up on. So when you click anywhere, right here for example, it sourced where I clicked. It looked for the pixels that I clicked, or the pixel, and it looked for information in those pixels. And depending on where I set the tolerance up here, it goes around that pixel and it finds other pixels that have the same information. If I take the tolerance up to, say, 100, well, then it's going to pick up more pixels. It's going to pick up pixels with similar information rather than exact information. Okay, so let me undo this real quick, and let's just take this tolerance down to 1, so you can get kind of an idea of how this works. So I'm really reducing the tolerance, which means I'm telling Photoshop to only pick pixels that have the exact information of where I'm clicking. And I click right here. And you can see that it's a much smaller area that it's picked up on, right? And maybe to our eye that all of that area looks the same, but it's not. If we zoom in, you can see that really Photoshop is right. This starts to get to be very different pixel information here. You can see these JPEG artifacts. Alright, and this is slightly different than this right here. Right? So tolerance is really, really useful. The higher you set your tolerance, the more pixels the magic wand will pick up, but they won't be as exact as the information that you source. If you set your tolerance to 1, then it's going to be looking for pretty much exactly the pixel information from where you clicked. Right? So let me Command D to deselect that. The other thing that we need to think about with, by the way, I'm going to set this back to 32. That's just kind of a general default. I believe Photoshop set it at that default, and that's kind of where I leave it unless I have a specific reason to move it. The other thing that we need to think about with the Magic Wand tool is contiguous, this little box right here. And right now it's checked. Let me zoom out a little bit with Command minus. When that is checked, it means it's going to be looking for pixels that are joined together. Alright, so they're not separated by some big block of color. For example, we'll click here. Alright, and it constrains the pixels that are all within these black outlines around Bambi's hair. Okay, Bambi, the black outline here, all the way around. Since I have contiguous checked, it's not going to go outside of that barrier that the black pixels are producing and look, for example, over here. Right? So that's really useful if you need to select a wide group of pixels in a specific area. Let me Command D to deselect. If I check it off, then what it's going to do is look all over the document. Right? So again, if I click here on Bambi's head, now it's going to be looking for pixels that have similar information all over the document. And you can see that it's picking up some kind of stray pixels here, which can be one of the problems with the Magic Wand tool. And what I would need to do here is go and probably reduce my tolerance a little bit. We could try it. Let's Command D, let's reduce our tolerance to 20 and see how that works. That's a little bit better. But we're starting to get into the little edges here, so we have to be careful. We're starting to lose some of our selection points inside. I don't know if you guys can look, or if you can see with any great detail, so let me move in. We're starting to lose. I actually want Photoshop to be picking up these little brown pixels here. So, you know, the Magic Wand tool, it's not for refined selections. It's for large blocks, and if you have areas that have muddy pieces of color, it can be kind of a headache. But if you don't, if you have lots of really clean areas, it's a great tool. Command D to deselect. So contiguous means it's going to select within a certain area, and non-contiguous means it's going to select all over the document. Okay, so let's click that on. And again, you can always add to your selections, or subtract to your selections. You've got your choices up here, all right, or have your selections intersect. If you want to add, you can always simply hold down the Shift key, and that's another way to add. Okay, so that's one of your options. Command D to deselect. All right, the last thing that we're going to look at is the Quick Selection tool, and we're actually going to do that in the next video.